Hi, and welcome to my channel. Or if you're a returning subscriber, hi again. It's so nice to see you back here for another video. My name is Tesla, and today I'm going to show you how you can use pressed ferns and epoxy resin to make these really cool botanical trays. As always, all the materials that I'll be using for this project will be linked in the description down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified every time I post a new video. And let's just hop into today's project. Okay, so each one of my trays holds approximately 150 milliliters of resin total, but because I want to pour a background color, I went ahead and started by mixing up 200 milliliters of clear resin to start. I also pre-pressed my ferns to save some time in this video, but I do have other videos here where I show you how to use a microfloor or a microwavable flower press, so I'll link one of those down below and you can make sure to check those out after this video if you're curious about how I did that. I'm going to start out by pouring a layer of resin into each one of these molds, and I like to pour my resin from a high angle in a slow steady stream to allow some air bubbles to pop on the way down. And because I want a specific background color, I'm not going to fill these molds up all the way because I'm going to pour them in two different layers. So I want the resin to fill all of the sides or the little lip around the edge of the mold, as well as have a pretty good window or be completely full right along the top face of the mold as well. But I'm just checking to see on the sides of the mold how full it is, again because I want to have some room to pour in another layer of resin. Now that I have my base layer of resin poured, I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun to pop any surface air bubbles that may be forming in the resin. And with this mold, because it does have that deeper lip around the edge, I like to use a popsicle stick and go right along the edge and pull some of those air bubbles out that I can see that are deep in the resin, so then I can once again use my heat gun and easily pop them once they've come to the surface. And just a quick reminder to boop that like button if you are finding this tutorial easy to follow and you're getting some value out of it. It not only helps out my channel a whole lot, but also lets me know that I'm making content that you guys want to see from me. My next step will be to place my ferns into my resin. And I'm just getting it a little bit wet here, again, to try to minimize any little air pockets that might form between the botanical, in this case, like my leaf that I'm using, and the resin. And when you're using this particular mold, it's really important to keep in mind that what you see is going to be facing away from you. So you want to make sure that whatever part of the leaf or flower that you want to be facing up or towards you when the piece is done is facing away from you, if that makes sense. So because this is a little too large, I'm just using my fingers to break off some of these lower leaves, and I'll clean that up a little bit. Because my leaf is so dry, it's easy enough just to use my fingers and easily break off any excess that I don't need. And next I'm just going to use a clean popsicle stick and very lightly press all of those little leaves down into the resin, again just to try to make sure that I'm minimizing any air pockets to minimize bubbles in the finished piece. And once I'm happy with how that's looking, I'll move on to my second mold. So once again, I'll roughly measure how long I think it should be and then just simply break that off with my fingers before placing it. And once again, making sure that I have the side of the leaf that I want facing up in the finished product facing away from me. And my cat Poe says hello. It's been a little while. She hasn't been as chatty lately, but she's found a sunny little spot in the corner of the room, and I guess she wanted to say hi. And then once I've got my second fern to place, I'm once again going to go ahead and use my popsicle stick to kind of press that down and get rid of any air bubbles or air pockets. And then I'm going to pretty aggressively use my heat gun and try to pop any bubbles that I can see. And then I'll cover these up and let them cure completely before moving on to the next step. Because I want there to be a pretty distinct layer between the two layers of resin, I let my pieces set up for about 24 hours, but you could honestly probably get away with letting them set up for 10 to 12. So I mixed up another 100 milliliters of clear resin, and to that I'm adding some alcohol ink by Pinata Colors. It's the Mattia Black. And once again, just to remind you that all the materials that I use for this project will be linked in the description below, so if anybody's curious, that information's right down there for you. And I'm also adding some mica powder by Arteza. It's their Space Gray to my black as well. After I've got my pigment added, I'm going to use a popsicle stick and make sure that I mix that thoroughly throughout the resin, making sure that I'm scraping both the sides and the bottom of my container as I go. And you can tell how pigmented your resin is by checking how it looks on the end of your popsicle stick and adding more pigment accordingly. And I decided to add some of that mica powder to my black because it gives this really pretty metallic gray sheen to the finished product. And now it's time to add the black to my pieces. So again, I'm just pouring from a slow high stream, making sure that I get a nice even coat of the black and making sure that I'm not overfilling my mold, but getting it right up to the edge. And this footage is sped up, but it's a good idea to work slowly as the resin is quite viscous, so it takes a while for it to level out and end up being where it's going to be, and you don't want to overfill your molds. So especially as you're getting towards the end where your mold is almost filled up, it's a good idea to sort of pull back and work a little bit more slowly to make sure, once again, that you don't have any overflow. All right, so I went ahead and I let that second layer of resin cure. Let it set up overnight, so it's totally cured, really solid. So let's pop these trays out of their molds and see how they turned out. Through the mold, it's looking really cool, so I can't wait to see. So here's our first tray and it's looking really pretty. The green of the fern is so nice against that black backdrop. Let's go ahead and pull out the second piece. So here's our two trays, and I think that they turned out absolutely gorgeous. I did get a few little air bubbles in here, but not too many, and overall I'm super happy with how these pieces turned out. So I will definitely be listing these in my Etsy, which I will be linking in the description down below. I'm also planning on making a set of fern coasters to go with these as well. Let me know what you guys think of these in the comments down below. As always, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending part of your day with me, especially if you made it all the way to the end of this video. And if you did make it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a little fern in the comments below so that I know that you made it all the way to the end. I really hope that this video inspires you to make something of your own today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!